The producers of The Simpsons sometimes feature different characters, hosts, themes, or concepts from different films. And today, we're going to explore that. From the Springfield Files to Simpsorama, these are the best crossover episodes in the Simpsons animated series. But we gotta start with A Star Is Burns. In order to save Springfield from being painted as the least cultural city in the United States, Marge suggested that they organize a film festival, of which the town did. However, one of their guests was the famous critic Jay Sherman, who came to judge their efforts. You'd be forgiven for not realizing that this one was a crossover, given that the critic, Jay Sherman's show, was originally canceled after 2 seasons, before experiencing a brief web revival in the early 2000s. Jay Sherman, who was voiced by John Lovitz, acting like a regular guest star, is a crossover we try so hard to understand. Regardless, his presence gave more light and humor to the episode. And fans must have enjoyed this natural addition to the show, even though there was a little confusion about the seamless crossover. This episode was narrated by the late Leonard Nimoy, and its crossover was one that kind of made history in The Simpsons. Homer claimed he'd been seeing aliens in Springfield, but it all fell on deaf ears as none of the citizens believed him. The case escalated to the extent that the FBI decided to investigate the matter, sending agents Fox Mulder and Dana Scully to Springfield. You could see the crossover in this episode, as the amazing leads of the TV show and movie X-Files were introduced as characters in The Simpsons. The name of the episode, The Springfield Files, should also give you some insight that it's a loving parody of the X-Files. A science fiction convention, Bi-Mon Sci-Fi Con, was set to take place in Springfield, and guess who was featured? Mark Hamill. Well, alongside with others. The Simpsons also watched a TV commercial about the convention and decided to go for it. While the convention was going on, a riot took place at the venue, after Mark offered the chance for someone in the crowd to act out a scene with him. Homer realized that Mark and Mayor Quimby were in danger of being trampled due to the riot and quickly rescued them. In gratitude, the mayor employed Homer as his bodyguard, as he fired his bodyguard for not taking his job seriously. The real Mark Hamill is a popular actor best known for portraying Luke Skywalker in the original Star Wars trilogy and other science fiction-related movies. That's another sci-fi crossover in The Simpsons. Homer pledged money to PBS that he doesn't have, incurring the network's wrath, and fled the country to become a missionary in Micronesia. This episode was probably the most political crossover that the show has ever done, praising PBS to spite the Fox network and undermine Fox owner Rupert Murdoch's alleged attempts to eradicate public broadcasting. As such, it's not the most outwardly funny episode, but features biting satire, Betty White, and a slew of PBS-related cameos, such as Mr. Rogers, the Teletubbies, and various Sesame Street characters. Homer created a fake news website when he got a new computer and became the target of a shady organization that imprisoned him on a mysterious island. There, he encountered Number 6, that was voiced by Patrick McGoohan, who also acted as Number 6 in the movie titled The Prisoner, and things only got weirder from there. This episode was certainly the strangest on the list, crossing over with The Prisoner, a British sci-fi show from the 1960s about a secret agent who woke up imprisoned in a strange, dreamlike village. Either way, it's one of the most surreal crossover episodes in TV history, and spreading false news has become a rampant occurrence in today's world. The Griffin family fled their hometown after Peter, voiced by Seth MacFarlane, pissed off the locals. But unfortunately, their car got stolen and they ended up stranded in Springfield, crossing paths with the Simpsons. However, the majority of this crossover took place in Springfield, and the episode frequently acknowledged that it was a crossover, and that doesn't sound as fun. Some sequences, such as the sexy car wash montage with Peter and Homer, were mildly disturbing, while others were downright offensive. Being a parody of The Family Guy that was generally mean-spirited, The Simpsons, at its best, was defined by its warmth. These two clashed, creating a cringe-inducing, if memorable, crossover. Working with a counter-truancy unit, Bart and Lisa raced to stop a stink bomb from detonating at the Springfield Elementary bake sale. On their way, they encountered Jack Bauer, voiced by Kiefer Sutherland, and Chloe O'Brien, voiced by Mary Lynn Raskube, along the way. And if you didn't know, the pair are also leading characters of the TV show 24. Adopting the style and storytelling techniques of Fox's 24, this episode is an accurate parody, but loses some of its Simpsons' usual charm along the way with its traditional couch gag. Nonetheless, it's a fan favorite, with Kiefer Sutherland's extended cameo among the best that the show has to offer. And the thriller format with its fairly mundane setting is intellectually pleasing, even if it doesn't necessarily translate into a riotous laughter throughout. When Moe displayed a talent for judging, he was invited to become part of American Idol and started a fierce rivalry with fellow judge Simon Cowell. To be honest, this is the laziest crossover of the bunch, playing like a big commercial for American Idol with little else to warrant its existence. At the end of the day, American Idol felt like something that The Simpsons would satirize, rather than partner with. Bart's web cartoon attracted Hollywood's attention, and the subsequent short film adaptation was nominated for numerous awards, culminating in an Oscar. This episode is kinda confusing, as they just mix up a lot of characters and concepts for humor. Toy Story, Wallace and Gromit, the triplets of Belleville, and Persepolis are all parodied, each rendered in a wildly different animation style, which results in a wonderful love letter to the medium itself. The plot centers around the televised awards season, and the episode featured a horde of famous guest stars, including Halle Berry, Russell Brand, and Ricky Gervais, riffing on his controversial appearances as the host of the Golden Globe Awards. Unlike Judge Me Tender, which felt like a commercial, this episode satirizes how overrated award seasons are, and also celebrates the existence of art. Homer suddenly woke up in a world where everyone and everything was made of Lego bricks, and no one has any memory of being in high-definition 2D digital ink and paint except for Homer, who had flashbacks of his former life. He does everything in his power to find a way out of this plastic world. This episode doesn't feature any crossover characters, as it is just a little reference to the Lego movie. The Simpsons didn't fail to introduce some comic scenes as it portrayed the Lego brand.
I was in a world where nothing is made of bricks except for toys.
Hey, read the sign.
The Simpsons were visited by the Planet Express team, who had traveled in time to prevent a sinister future, overrun with creatures evolved from Bart's DNA. A crossover between The Simpsons and Futurama, Matt Groening's other animated show, was bound to happen eventually. That said, it's a lackluster affair, damaged by its limited runtime. We barely got to see the characters interact, and the sci-fi plot was over before it even began. Beyond watching Bender, voiced by John DiMaggio, interact with Homer, and a few decent sight gags, it's inoffensive at best and boring at worst. The math teams from Springfield Elementary and Waverly Hills Elementary competed against each other in an event organized by Benjamin, Doug, and Gary. Lisa, the brainiac of Springfield Elementary, bragged that her school would surprise everyone at the meet. Her prediction was actually true when the opposing team failed to score any points at all. She was of the opinion that Waverly Hills Elementary could afford the newest educational technology, while her school used antiquated tools due to its inadequate budget. When Ms. Hoover tried to show her students an educational video on her cell phone, Lisa noticed groundskeeper Willie using a knotted rope to measure the dimensions of a field outside. The sight gave her an inspiration to suggest that Springfield Elementary became a Waldorf school, with an emphasis on creative play and hands-on activities. This episode's couch gag featured a crossover with the animated series Rick and Morty. The crossover seemed disjointed, yet funny and entertaining to the viewers as it received so much praise at its production. You got to agree with us that these crossover episodes are worth revisiting, entertaining, humorous, and confusing at the same time. Inasmuch as it looked like The Simpsons were trying to parody these movies or concepts from other movies, they tried to hold the attention of their viewers. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, like and share, and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, folks.